Confidence is not a fluke, confidence is a choice, and it begins with our mindset. In this podcast, you will find a variety of research proven strategies that will lead you from being self critical, your worst enemy, to being the most confident version of yourself. I am Olga, former therapist, confidence life coach, blissfully an IVF mother, a wife, and this is the Journey to Happy podcast. Hey guys, welcome to I see if I can get it right, episode 137 of the Journey to Happy podcast. I'm Olga, your host, and today we're going to talk about steps you can actively take to coach yourself out of mental drama or drama in general. So raise your hand if you're one of these people who do not like drama. My hand is up. I don't like drama. But I've come to realize that despite what I like, my mind has a life of its own and it is incredibly dramatic. So who else is a bit of a drama queen living inside their head? Please tell me I'm not the only one. So if that is you, this episode is for you, my friend, okay? I'm thinking of you. I am you to some degree. I have made huge improvements on walking myself out of mental drama. And I've got some techniques that I really want to teach you today and walk you through that. And by the way, if you too has a mind of its own, a life of its own, and recurrently brings you to a place of self-criticism, picking away your confidence, if your own inner dialogue is not very encouraging or positive or empowering, I so highly suggest that you take my workshop of 6 days, Detox the Mind, because that's exactly what we do. We just go through some very important lessons to help us shift the inner dialogue. And that there is one coming up. And so I want you to sign up. If you go into the show notes, you'll be able to put your name in the waiting list. And as soon as we open up, you can sign up and you will be able to join us. It's $111, 111. 111 is a magical number. And because I want magic to happen in your mind, I have priced it that way. 111. That's exactly what you pay. That's the statement that I want you to see in your receipt. Those are the numbers that I want you to continue to see throughout. So the dramatic mind kind of calms down. We truly detoxify the mind. Okay, more of that later. So how do we self-coach out of drama? First thing I want you to know, and I teach this to my clients, is that we can coach ourselves out of drama because we brought ourselves to the drama. So just like you can bring yourself into a dramatic scenario, you can also bring yourself out of a dramatic scenario. First, I want to give you some background. It is fairly common for many of us to have a default of thought. And that default of thought is worry. We catastrophize. A catastrophe, you know what is a catastrophe? It's like when there is a volcano and a whole town gets erased by the lava of the volcano. That's a catastrophe. Many of us have that recurrent pattern of thought mindset or thought error. There's so many names for it that lead us to catastrophize what's happening. So what's happening right now might be that your son spills some milk on the ground and you respond as if there was ended all of the milk that there was in the planet for life and nobody will ever drink milk again. Your brain takes one event that is happening today and it magnifies its impact. So that's also known as worst case scenario. We jump to worst case scenario. And here's what I want you to know why we do that. Technically, your brain at all costs wants to protect you. So your mind has a tiny little part of the mind that thinks, if I can make you think and experience the worst possible, then, only then, will you be able to be prepared for the worst when the worst comes. What we know for a fact is that there is no amount of doing today that can prepare you for the future, okay? So the catastrophic thinking actually does not stop the catastrophe from happening. Should it happen, it doesn't prevent it, doesn't protect you from it, but in fact ruins your moment. How many times have you catastrophized about something? And when that event happens and the catastrophe didn't happen, you kind of regret the amount of time and energy that you spent in worry and all the things you didn't do and that you didn't enjoy because you were in worry mode. That's happened to me. That's happened to me several times. But I'm like, oh my God, it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it could be. And yet I acted as if it was happening. And so I ruined a happy supper with my family. I didn't enjoy the trip, or I didn't sleep, I don't know how many nights, and I didn't need to do all of that. So that's the downside of catastrophizing. Not only does it not stop something from happening, it doesn't protect you, but it robs you from when things are okay, from happiness, from a calm mind, when all is good. Needless to say, if you have that pattern of thought as a default, it is time to begin to change it. And that's what I'm hoping to teach you today. The first one that I want you to think about is the drama or the catastrophizing that happens when we hear something that is not exactly what was being said. And so if it happens in a communication, for example, a conversation with maybe your partner, maybe with your boss, maybe with a friend, it recently happened to a client of mine with me, and she heard something so far removed from what I was saying. When that's the case, you have to come back to what was it said exactly? What were the words that were used exactly? And then ask yourself, what did I hear? There are so many examples I've experienced with my clients and with myself that when what we hear is far removed from what was being said. So, for example, a client of mine had a coworker reach out to her and say, hey, I don't like that they booked the staff meeting the day that you're off. You maybe address that with our boss so that it changes. They change the day so you don't miss the meeting. That's what was said. What my client heard was, you're slacking off. You taking days off is ruining the team meeting. And you clearly don't want to be there. So my client goes from that experience feeling that she's not valued, that they're judging her, that they're not understanding why she's taking time off, that her coworkers are difficult and judging of her experience, what she's going through, that's not allowing her to be at work. When she repaired back on what was being said exactly, none of the things she heard were actually being said. And she confronted her coworker upon my coaching, my request. And her coworker was actually thinking it was totally unfair that she would miss out on team meetings. And for that reason, she really, she was advocating for her. Like, she should have been in the meetings. It came from such a loving place. Like, we can't call this a team meeting if one of our teammates isn't here. But my client had heard judgment. They're judging me for being on sick leave. They're judging me from being away. They think I'm slacking off. Heard something completely different. So that's one way in which our mind is dramatic. Not only do we fill out the blanks of the things we don't know, and we fill them out in a very dramatic way that works against us, but also we hear not what was said. We hear what aligns with our fears. Okay, this is so important for you to know. You are catastrophizing because you have a perception of yourself and you have fears about you or about life. And so our brain uses that as bias to think of or to see evidence of that in other places. So, for example, if you fear, I don't know, whatever you fear, you begin to see that perception. If you're being judged, you begin to see that anybody's comments to you are a source of judgment. Okay. And that's what happened to this client. It's happened to me with my marriage so many times. My husband says, that's not what I said, but I swear to God, that's what I heard. So as a common practice, if you do have this catastrophizing default way of thinking, if you tend to dramatize a lot and you know it, sometimes you feel that you overreact to emotions or to what was being said, do yourself a favor and make it a habit to stop and ask what was said exactly and what did I hear? And actually write it down, because you're going to notice there's a massive gap between one and the other. And so always opt to going strict to what was said, not what you assume those words meant. Stick to the words that were said. That will keep you off the drama. And that can also be done with behaviors. Let the behaviors be what informs you of what others are doing and not why you think they're doing it, right? We fill out the blank and then we add drama. They're only helping me because they feel obligated. Hold on. You're adding drama to that. Just leave it at they're helping me. Okay? And take that help. So that's the first one. Similar to that one is when your brain catastrophizes about the what if. So all is well today. Let's say that I did this with my pregnancy a lot. Okay. So I'll give you that example. Although currently, at the time of this recording, I'm not pregnant. This example is about when I was pregnant 2.5 years, 3 years ago now. Okay. I would be fine. And I knew I was going to an ultrasound, and my brain will begin to think, what if they don't find a heartbeat? What if they tell you the baby has like a really weird condition? What if they tell you the baby is in a position that, I don't know, it's going to make it impossible for him to be born? What if? And so I would just play all of these very dramatic scenarios about something that had not happened. So my brain was in a what if. And again, my brain being dramatic will fill out the blanks with the most scary possible options. I give credit to my brain. It was trying to protect me, trying to make me feel the feelings ahead of time, convincing me that that was better for me. But really, it robbed me from peace of mind, from moments of joy in my pregnancy prior to an ultrasound. So in those moments, if you are a what if kind of thinker, I encourage you to coach yourself out of that type of drama by simply asking yourself the question, just like we practice what was being said, what did I hear? And be honest about what you heard versus what was said. Ask yourself, what if I change the what if for what is? And actually list what is happening. So going back to my example of the ultrasounds, every time I was thinking, what if they tell me baby is not well? What if they tell me some bad news? I will come back to what is happening right at this moment. What is happening right at this moment is that I feel the baby move if I was at that stage, or if I wasn't. What is happening right now is that I know all is well, that I'm still pregnant, that I'm home, and that I'm safe, and that baby's safe, and we're all good. So being able to bring your brain back from drama to what is happening will calm you down and will lower the dramatic tone that the brain has had up until that moment. Now, your brain is stubborn. And so it's going to want to take you back to other places of the what if, come back to the what if. It's going to want to take you to, yes, but really what you heard, what you assumed was being said. And so that's why I call this self-coaching. You have to be persistent, like I would with my clients. I wouldn't let my client tell me the drama that hasn't happened and stick with them in the drama stage. I will bring them back and back and back. That's my job, to hear the drama and say, okay, but that's not actually happening. So bring you back to what is happening. And so it's called self-coaching because your first instinct is going to tell me, oh, it's so hard to do in the moment. I'm in the heat of the moment. It's true. But the heat of the moment is not forever. So the moment that there is discomfort, coach yourself out of it. It's not that complicated. It's the willingness to say, what is actually happening? Or what did I actually hear versus what was said? What assumptions am I making that I have zero evidence to prove that is why they're doing what they're doing? Okay. So it's called self-coaching because you have to be persistent. You have to take it like this is your job, to coach yourself out of it, not to leave it up to the universe, up to the circumstances, to maybe by listening to this podcast, I now know and I'm going to try it. And if you're like most people, trying means you actually didn't do it and not long enough. And so then you're going to tell me it didn't work. It's called self-coaching for a reason. You're going to sit down with pen and paper and you're going to take a few minutes a day to coach yourself out of the drama that you have. And in my opinion, this needs to be done on a daily basis, or at the very least on a weekly basis. I self-coach myself on a weekly basis. What drama do I have going on in my mind today? And what am I going to do about it? And lastly, what I want to leave you with is my Reset Your Mindset formula. Now, in my Reset Your Mindset formula, this is something that I dive in deeply throughout the 12 weeks of my Reset Your Mindset program. But this formula will help you, even if I just give you like the points, okay? To recognize that a thought that was dramatic has entered your mind. So awareness. Step number 1, to become aware. You can literally not change anything in your life if you're not aware. Fish don't know they're in water until they're pulled out of the water. They're like, oh, I can't breathe. What happened? I was in water. Okay. So without the awareness, we can do nothing about it. So you're going to first have awareness. Then you're going to take a pause. Right after you become aware that you were being dramatic, breathe. Take a moment. You need to do anything right away, but feel the feeling of having been the character of a drama movie. And so just feel it. And then, so we have awareness, we have pause. You're going to feel the feeling. Step number 3, feel the feeling. Take a pause, feel the feeling. And then you are going to press reset. Literally, you're going to imagine this big, huge button, red button that says reset in white words. And you're going to press it with all of your strength and you're going to begin again. So you go back to the event. What actually happened? The neutral event. Okay, what actually happened was that I booked my ultrasound. That's all it happened. I then had a perception, awareness, right? And the thought I had is, what if all things go wrong? And as a result, I'm feeling yucky, anxious, fearful. So I'm going to sit and feel the fear that I just created in my body. I'm going to sit with it because it won't kill me, but I have to process it because I generated it. And I'm going to go back to the event. I booked ultrasound and I'm going to come up with a new way of thinking. What other thought can I have about the event? And so I often will come back to, I am going to see my baby. And that thought will make me smile and will make me happy. And it will make me forget about the dramatic thought I had before. It's not always as simple to come up with a new thought, but I encourage you to do the exercise, to follow this formula. I promise you, reset it and you will begin again with a new thought that will make you feel differently and hopefully less dramatic. I hope you enjoy this. I sincerely hope this is bringing your interest to doing some mindset work. There are so many incredible benefits of mindset work, and being able to coach ourselves out of mental drama is one of them. So I welcome you to pay attention to when my next Detox the Mind course is happening. Sign up to the waiting list. That way you can be notified first thing and sign up for it and begin to manifest the kind of thinking that you want to have. And we'll take it from there. Okay. Thanks for listening. See you next Monday. Confidence is about taking empowered action with consistency. If you are done wishing you had more confidence with fill out the blank, and if you're ready to put an end to the bully that lives inside your mind, I want to invite you to my next Detox the Mind 5-day workshop, where you will learn proven strategies to go from self-critical to self-confident. For $97, you get 5 days of live coaching calls with me, workbooks to go along with your lessons, and teachings that will literally transform your life. This workshop will break you free from the prison of your own thoughts. Our next workshop begins April 11th, and you can join the waiting list today. Head over to the show notes or my website and make sure you add your name so you can be notified as soon as we open for registrations. I hope to see you inside.